Does Bud Dupree suck? Bleacher Report thinks so. They labeled him as the Falcons' bust candidate for 2023. So we're going to break this down, plus talk about Jessie Bates in the second half of the show. And we got a draft at the end that you will not want to miss. But welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with producer Roley, talking about Bud Dupree because Bleacher Report labeled him as Atlanta's bust candidate going through all 32 teams. And let's get right to it. Here's what Alex Ballentine said. Bud Dupree is not going to save the Falcons' pass rush. Just ask the Tennessee Titans how that plan plays out. The Falcons, who were last in pressure percentage last season, have taken several stabs at solving their pass rush issues over the last few seasons. The fact is that Dupree's best days came with the Steelers in a blitz-heavy scheme that featured T.J. Watt. That makes production a lot easier to come by. When the Titans scheme asked him to win matchups by himself without the benefit of blitzing, he combined for just 7 sacks over the last 2 seasons. It doesn't help that injuries limited him to 22 games in those seasons as well. The continued development of Lorenzo Carter and a breakout season from Arnold Ebiketie are much more likely to help the Falcons get after the passer. Who hurt Alex's feelings? I don't know why he woke up and he's like, fucking guy, Bud Dupree sucks. We need to tear him down. Alex, no one's asking Bud Dupree to put up the numbers he did in Pittsburgh. You want to know how I know that? Atlanta's paying him $3 million. So when it comes to contribution expectations, when you're paying someone $3 million, you're not expecting 10-plus sacks. They're expecting him to be a valuable member of a committee pass rush, right? That's the plan for Atlanta. Fresh legs and keep throwing new guys at the offensive line and wear them down over 4 quarters for an entire 17-game season. 1 year, $3 million contract does not equate to the Falcons going, all of our eggs are in Bud Dupree's basket. It might have been like that for Tennessee because they gave him a blockbuster 5-year contract. But when you pay someone 1 year, $3 million, if you get 7 sacks, you're going to feel like a big winner coming out of that. So what do you guys think? Do you guys believe Bud Dupree will be good or bad? This is the pinned comment. Scroll on down. If a YouTube ad break comes on by, let it play while you're giving me a G for good or a B for bad. Now, when we look at Atlanta's linebacker depth chart here, it's going to be a heavy rotation. Dupree, Lorenzo Carter, Arnold Ebiketie. They drafted, what's-his-face out of Ohio State, Zach Harrison. You added Caden Ellison free agency. There are a lot of horses here. There might not be a Kentucky Derby winner, but you are going to be throwing a lot of guys at this offensive line over the course of a season, and that's clearly what Fontenot is banking on because he did not find a Kentucky Derby winner in free agency this year, or he didn't believe there was one. But yes, Bud Dupree has not been good the last couple of years. Since going over from Pittsburgh when he had 11.5 sacks in 2019, unfortunately, a ACL tear towards the end of his career in the Steel City. Just 7 sacks over the last 2 years combined. But honestly, I'm not expecting a whole lot, or I'm not asking a whole lot of Bud Dupree, right? I think he'll make a valuable contribution, but he's not going to be relied on to be a 11 or 12 sack player. No one's asking Bud Dupree to do that, right? No one is saying if Bud Dupree does not get to 12 sacks, this season is toast. No, you paid him 1 year, $3 million. You know what that gets you on a good day? 6 sacks, 7 sacks, and that's perfectly fine. You get what you pay for. This is what the Falcons are signing up for. And if he doesn't produce 5 or 6, 7 sacks or whatever, oh well. You only paid him 1 year, $3 million, right? So when they talked about Arnold Ebiketie or Lorenzo Carter as some other breakout candidates, Ebiketie was awesome week 1 last season. Unfortunately, it kind of cooled off throughout the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Carter came back to the Peach State after going to the Giants coming out of UGA, and he had a resurgence last year, right? Put up 4 sacks, and hopefully he can build off of those numbers and get closer to 8 or 9 sacks and put together a well-balanced pass rush that might not have one guy that gets 12, 13, 14 sacks, a big ridiculous number like that. But if you can get a bunch of singles, a little bit of small ball. What's wrong with small ball, right? You get some infield singles, find the gap, maybe one reaches the wall, and this pass rush won't be top 5 in the NFL, but it's not going to be 31st anymore. And that's really what you need here, right? You're not going to go from 31st to 1st in one off season most likely, but if you can go from 31st to 16th, 17th, I think Fontenot will take that knowing we've got one heck of a secondary, and hopefully this offense can be a ground attack like no one has ever seen before, and we can just punch guys in the mouth and run them over with physicality for the course of 18 weeks. Now, we're going to talk more about the Falcons in just a moment, but we are closing in on 13,000 subscribers. I know some of you were asking in the comment section what the update is with the Vikings channel here. Unfortunately, they beat us to 13,000 subs, so we got to get there now, and then we got to pass them and get to 14K before Vikings Now with Patrick Seatman does. So lock yourself in for free Falcons YouTube content. Also, quick PSA here. You might have already seen this, but we are going to be, I'm not joking, on a Netflix show debuting July 12th. It's called Quarterbacks. It followed Mariota, Mahomes, and Kirk Cousins last year. Well, the big wigs over at Netflix emailed us here at Chat Sports and said, hey, we kind of like this Falcons Today show. Do you mind if we steal some sound clips and put it in our Netflix show? So make sure you tune in for that and point it out to your buddy if you recognize a voice while you're watching and go, that's the YouTube guy I watch. So tune in July 12th over on Netflix. I lost my Netflix recently. Shout out to my parents for letting me use that password for a long time. But then I just hit, email, forgot password, and Netflix never asked me to do that ever again after that. So that's the little loophole I found about. So hopefully no one from Netflix watches this show. Now, moving on here. Let's talk about Jessie Bates. If they do, I might have just screwed myself. All that what I said was a lie. I got new Netflix. I paid for it myself. I paid extra, actually, to make up for all the years that I was using my parents' account. But Jessie Bates, is he impressing? Jerry Gray has been raving about the free agent signing Jessie Bates, and I thought you guys should see it as well. Here's what Jerry said. We need a guy like him. I love his leadership. I love the way he plays on the football field. And then you talk to him, and you see the same thing. See the same thing. He's always talking about the game planning, doing this, getting guys together, being together. And Jerry Gray, remember, was a coach that the Falcons picked up from the Green Bay Packers, if I recall. But aside from that, these are things you love to see. I know it's July and it's best shape of life season, but you'd rather hear best shape of life than not hear it. Because if you don't hear best shape of life season, it's worst shape of life season. And that's bad right there. So yes, in the offseason, all 32 fan bases get drunk off clips like this and sound bites and quotes, but I'd rather get drunk off of it than be the one guy at the party who's the DD and has nothing to talk about for their team. So I'll take this every single day of the week. We were clamoring, if you remember, back in February and going into March, honestly, all the way back to January probably too, the moment the season ended, that the Falcons go out and get Jessie Bates. And this is how we know that Terry's a longtime watcher and listener of the show, because that was clearly a priority for them in free agency. They locked up the star safety, and him and A.J. Terrell will pair nicely in this secondary for hopefully years to come. You look at what Bates has done over the last 4 seasons. 4 picks last year, just 1 interception in 2021, but 6 picks over the 2 seasons prior combined. A lot of pass breakups. He's a ball hawk safety, but he's not just average against the run. He knows how to play around the line of scrimmage. He's done a lot of great things. When you look at his run defense of PFF grades, 70.5, not too shabby for a guy who lines up very far away from the line of scrimmage at the point of attack, right? So for Bates, he's versatile. He can step into the box. You can really put him wherever you want. He'll line up as this team's free safety opposite of Richie Grant. And this Falcon safety room is going to be much improved, I believe. When you look at it, Bates and Grant are the top 2 guys. Hawkins takes a step down, and Bates comes in as a major improvement. And you're going to create not just a no-fly zone at Hartsfield-Jackson, but a no-fly zone against very bad pilots, right? Between rookie quarterback and Bryce Young, you think he's going to like playing a veteran safety like Bates and an improving safety like Grant twice a year? No. Derek Carr sucks. He cries himself to sleep. And I don't know who's going to start in Tampa Bay, but whether it's Trask or Baker, it's not going to be a good movie for any Buccaneers fan. So 6 division games right there that sure might not be going up against some absolute dogs of pass rushers, but A.J. Terrell, Jeff Okudah, and Jessie Bates, those are some dogs in the secondary right there. So how excited are you for Jessie Bates? Scale it 1 to 10 in the comment section below. I'm a solid 7.7. I'm at a 7.7, right? I don't want to get too drunk on the Kool-Aid before we see a snap get played, but pencil me in for a 7.7. It's time for the draft. And if you are a longtime viewer of the show, you watched all the way through, you might know what's coming up next. It's 2-2 because I actually prepare something on my notes app. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But I am sorry. If you saw it, you can go back. If you missed it, you can go back to yesterday's video. We were doing Atlanta rappers, and I picked Outkast, and I said Andre 4000. It's not that I didn't know who Andre 3000 was. I was just already jumping ahead to the fourth pick, I think. In the moment, Rolly and I didn't notice it. So it was one of those things where you say, and if no one catches you, you don't even realize a slip of the tongue. But that's a bad black eye. I had to give Rolly the win immediately, and Rolly's itching to unmute himself. So please, dance on my grave.
Yeah, attaboy, T. Way to really know your stuff there, kid. And just classic tough L to take for you there. But
I put together a great squad.
It's okay. You could have another tough L with our draft here. That is teams that will never win a championship across all professional sports. And I had the 1-1, and maybe you guys don't agree with this one because they are one of the best teams in the NFL as we speak, but the Buffalo Bills, I'm from New York. I hate the Bills. They're a poverty franchise that is cursed, and they will never win. I don't care how good their roster is now, how good Josh Allen is. The Bills stink, and they're never going to win.
And if anyone says you're wrong, Jim Kelly was really good too, and he never won.
I mean, they're also going to be having to go up against Patrick Mahomes for the next 15 years too, so it's not like they're going to have an easy window, and Joe Burrow is there too. Yeah. The Bills have got a tough path, plus they stink.
And if they get to the Super Bowl, they got to go through the Falcons.
Yeah, that's
right.
Gonna be
hell on earth. All right, my first pick of teams that will never win a championship, the Detroit Lions. We went NFL first, and then we went NBA, but I went with Detroit because I don't know if this requires much of an explanation. I can't close my eyes and picture a parade in the Motor City for the Lions. It's just never going to happen. It's short and sweet, but that's the truth.
And I kind of feel that way for number 3 here with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Once again, a team that has decent young players, right? Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns. But the Timberwolves franchise just has this putrid stench to it that will never win. Traded away Kevin Garnett. The Timberwolves are just doomed and will never succeed in the NBA.
My NBA team, I went with the Orlando Magic. They are probably the most irrelevant professional sports franchise out there.
It's bad.
It's really bad. I don't know if it'll ever get better, too. Again, similar logic for the Lions of close your eyes, will they ever win? No. Do they look like they're getting anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years? No. And more importantly, are they an organization that's stable top to bottom that can put together a perfect season? No. Sorry, Magic fans. Love Disney World, but the Orlando Magic are never going to win.
Yeah, with my pick, we did an MLB round here, and I went the Colorado Rockies. There's only like 5 or 6 teams that have never won a World Series in the MLB, and obviously the Rockies are one of them. And it just feels like they're in a real danger zone right now. They don't really have any highly touted prospects. They signed Chris Bryant, but why'd they do that? Because they're not in the mode to compete. The Rockies seem to be in this dead zone right now, especially with the division with the Diamondbacks and Dodgers and Giants, who are always so good. Rockies might be doomed for a long time.
So I wanted to take the Rockies, but Rolly had the pick before me, so I went with the next best team, I thought, or next worst team, rather, the Milwaukee Brewers. This is more a pick of the other teams that were available were the Padres. I'm not going to pick the Padres. They're just too talented right now. The Mariners, I feel like Seattle could.
They're cooking.
They could do a Royals run, right? They could do that 2015 Kansas City Royals, 2003 Miami Marlins type run in a few years. So I went with Milwaukee because I don't know if you guys know this, but they are a pretty old franchise, and they only have 6 postseason appearances. Something ridiculously low like that. Under 10 for sure, which is crazy to think about. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Brewers.
With my final pick, we did a wild card round where we could pick any team from any sports league, and I went with the Carolina Panthers. Oh, my God, as Falcons fans, we know this. The Panthers winning a championship? Absolutely not. It will never happen. The Panthers are a poverty franchise, and we will never have to worry about them competing in the NFC South.
Yeah, if only Cam Newton dove for that football against Denver, how different this world could be. So with my wild card one, I went with the Jags. I like Jacksonville. I was a big Trevor Lawrence stan last year. I picked them to go to the postseason last year. No big deal or anything, but still, there's no way the Jags will ever be on top of the NFL world. It's just never going to happen. They'll move to London before they even make it to a Super Bowl. So let us know which team or which draft you think, by the way, had... No, this is not funny.
Petey, what are you doing?
That was sly of you. I'm not going to lie.
Petey!
Motherfucker. You tanked my draft stock. This is completely fake and fabricated. Before we started the show, we have a script. I'll kind of let you guys get in behind the curtain right now. And we go through the script and whatnot. And Rolly was like very mysterious, like, don't read the script today. And I was like, that's going to be very difficult for me to do. He was like, just don't read the very bottom. And I was like, all right. I thought it was going to be a nice fun plug about the Netflix thing. But then that came in the middle of the show. And when we did that, I thought, if we're talking about Netflix now, I don't know what we'll be talking about later. But I completely disagree with this. I'm not going to even read it out loud. It will not hit the airwaves. This was very mean by Rolly. It was not nice, not funny.
Petey, I'm just relaying the message that you said earlier today in the office.
These are completely fabrication. What's that one? It's a myth. It's all fake. None of it's true. None of this is true. Rolly's just busting my balls right now. Make sure to subscribe. If you want the Falcons to win a Super Bowl, prove Rolly wrong. I'm just messing with him. But no, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Shout out to Andre 2000. I'm just kidding. And we'll see you guys later.